Hostile on my mark! Engage target! Vector clear. Marking. There are many like it, but this one is mine. You got the item! Position! Making a move!
Asset negative! Negative asset, you copy?
Attention, intruder alert. Repeat, we have an intruder. Everyone remain on alert. This is not a
Anomaly detected.
Trace program initiated. Access granted.
Unspecified alert condition. Repeat, we're under general alert.
Anomaly detected. Trace program initiated. Access granted. Anomaly detected. Trace program initiated. Access granted.
Jensen. Miller tells me you're alive in there. They built you tough, huh?
Where the hell have you been, Chicane?
Me? You've been off comms for hours, partner. Hell, I almost came in there after you, but damn roaches down there spotted me, so I had to bug out. Been trying to raise you ever since.
Yeah, well, now I need a pickup.
Helipad, north end of the facility. As soon as I catch you on infrared, I'll break cover and grab you. Chicane out.
Played Mirror's Edge, so
Good, you should. It's a great game.
exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
I already
Like,
own Mirror's Edge.
I own it. Well, I bought
Mirror's
it.
Edge. Mirror's Edge is Dying Light without the crafting, the zombies, the knives, the fun. It's it's just a boring jumping game. I don't understand. I missed the first Mirror's Edge. So when Rand actually, I saw you streaming it, and then I went and tried the demo on EA. The EA Pass we have that you can try it a few days before. Don't get me wrong. I thought the mechanics were very good on the new one. I was lacking. I couldn't find any fun in the game, especially after the first two levels. It was like, every 2 seconds there's a red blip, a red arrow.
Right.
that just
Well, I
disappears.
mean, the first game is level based. You do a level and it stops, and you do another one. It's extremely linear, whereas the second game is they Ubisoft it. It's open world bullshit, collectibles everywhere.
You
So I
have to
mean,
climb the tower and unlock the map.
but I mean, I'm just saying, like, a lot of people, like, I'm a big Mirror's Edge fan, and so are a lot of my friends, and a lot, they felt the same way with you as Mirror's Edge 2. It's like they didn't like how they took it from a single player experience that was as linear as it can be, just had good segments of wall running and all this different types of stuff, parkour stuff, to just this open world nonsense where you're extending gameplay. And you have, I gotta collect this, I gotta collect this, I gotta do this. It just extended it. It didn't make it any better. I haven't finished Mirror's Edge 2 yet, so I really don't have an opinion on it. But I'm.
And then, of course, later on today, I have the multiplayer podcast, which I take people from the comment section, people from with smaller channels or brands than myself. I just, like I said, reach out to different people to get people's different, opinions, on said gaming, and using my platform, to express their views and stuff on gaming. Now, listen here, we got about 40 people, which, like I said, we did about 50 or 60 before I start. I don't have much time because, like I said, and again, I have to start getting ready for the multiplayer podcast. But it's been some crazy. Shout out to Riddy Gamer. I'm looking in the comments section. Of course, my man, Deus Ex, man. Like I said, some real shit, Deus Ex. I don't even know what platform you prefer, but you're in all like the videos and the podcast. Like I said, first of all, shout out to you for rocking out with me and Crap and whoever else. You know what I mean? Just thank you for your support. Some real shit though. Like I said, I don't know what your preferred platform or choice is. Doesn't even matter. Thank you for, like I said, rocking out with me in everything that I do. And what's a big misconception? Like I said, I'm just gonna shoot the shit before I start talking about what's going on and what's been going on with me for the last 2 days. It's crazy as hell. People, how should I say? People who don't tend to know, don't mean you guys know me personally, but think that I only want pro Xbox people. No, it's not like this. At the end of the day, how should I say this? Anybody and everybody that
Not as good as one.
Hey,
And-
Rand, Forza Horizon 2 on 360 wasn't good. It was a drag.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because I gameflied it and played it, and it was different achievements, different thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't nearly as good. They achieved, like, I hate that. I like going back, like I played Rise of the Tomb Raider on 360 as well, and the achievements are all the same. You know what I
Yep,
mean? The game
same
is the
game.
same. You
Pretty
know,
much.
but when you played Forza Horizon 2, I guess because it was so technical, like that, you couldn't really pull off what they were doing on the Xbox One version. You know what I mean? Like there's no weather or anything like that. So, yeah, definitely,
And did any of you guys play the Assassin's Creed game, the 2
no,
game?
No.
I haven't
It's
played
actually it's actually well, you mentioned about no platformers this time around or whatever.
it.
Well,
Yeah,
the game is a platformer.
Platformer,
but it's
Essentially,
not. I
it's a
like platformers.
but
I
I
just
mean,
don't like puzzle platformers.
it's a cool game. I liked it. I haven't played the other two though. So I mean, like I look at this stuff like I normally, me personally, I don't get any use out of games with gold at all because either I played all the 360 games or I own most of all the Xbox One games come out. So like Earthlock, finally a game that it hasn't come out yet that is free. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So I don't got to buy it. Am I gonna play the game? Probably not. you
Yeah.
know, but at least I'll have it for maybe the one day, you know, when there's a nuclear holocaust and I'm sitting in my fucking room playing fucking games. And I'm like, all right, now I
Hoping will be my 2016 game of the year, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Now, as you all know, if you've been paying attention to my channel, if you are a longtime fan, or maybe if you aren't, Human Revolution Last Generation was a top 10 game of Last Generation for me. Now, not all sequels can match up to their predecessors. I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles was my favorite game of Last Generation, but Xenoblade Chronicles X will go down as one of the most disappointing games I've ever played in my entire life. Not to say it was a bad game, but when the prior game was so good, a game I'd probably rank in the 6 or the 7s, it just doesn't cut it. So, we're going to play this game, and we're going to give it a little feel out. I mean, it's been a while. A lot to get into and back into tune with this thing, but you know, gaming is like riding a bike. One thing I can already say I do not like about this game is, why do they never give you the highest difficulty right from the beginning?
Hey, Jensen.
People like me,
Fella tells
people
me
at
you're alive in
work,
there.
people that do
Is it
school
too tough,
part-time,
huh?
people
Where the
that
hell have you
girlfriends,
been,
people that have
Chicane?
life.
Me.
We don't
You've
have
been off
the
comms for
time
hours,
to do
partner.
multiple playthroughs
Hell, I almost came in there
of a
after you,
single
but
game.
damn
Especially
roaches
if
down
you're
there
a
spotted me,
PC
so I had to
gamer
bug out.
and you have a
Been
huge
trying to
battery.
raise you ever since.
Yeah, well, now I
So
need to pick
give
up.
me
Helipad,
the
north
highest
end of the
difficulty
facility.
so I can play the game
As soon as I
fresh,
catch you on infrared, I'll break cover and grab
without
you.
doing a
Chicane
second
out.
playthrough where I know where everything is. Let me play at the highest difficulty right away. So we have give me a story, give me a challenge, give me the assets. Most of that on because I can't take. I never asked for this. I just do it because it won't let me. So, we're gonna play this game and hopefully we're gonna have some fun. And no, we don't want to watch it. 12 minute video. And already, cutscenes locked at 30.
I once thought I could save the world.
Got the loot
Now
ping.
look at it.
Investigating.
Well, they did not waste any time with the killing. And the hell is up with your hair?
Flashback to the Og incident. That horrible day 2 years ago when all missing people all over the world.
Sometimes you just have to let go and embrace what you've become.
Not gonna go all wonky on us now, Hansa. Are ya?
Well, if I do, McCready, I guarantee you'll never see it coming.
Agent Jensen! Am I gonna have a problem with you?
No, sir. No reason to assume you would.
Good. Because you are the only augmented operative on this team, and I intend to make good use of you.
Listen up, all of you.
We got a sandstorm barreling down our ass and we can't afford to make mistakes.
Hey, Jensen.
We're going after this man.
Miller tells me
An
you're alive
arms
in there.
dealer named
They built you
Shepard.
tough, huh?
Where the hell have you been, Chicane?
Me?
One of the special
You've been off
forces
comms for
commanders
hours, partner.
disappeared during the incident.
Hell, I almost came in
And
there
he's come
after
out
you,
of
but
hiding.
damn roaches down there spotted me, so I had to
It's
bug out.
not.
Been trying to raise you ever since.
Yeah, well, now I need to pick up.
Helipad, north end of the facility.
This is a
As soon as I catch you on infrared, I'll break
the
cover and
undercover
grab you.
agent who
Chicane
lured
out.
Shepard out of his hole. For years he's worked to get into Gin, an Iraqi smuggling cartel that's infected the Eastern Hemisphere with the plague. Last week, our armed group sent a message to the Gin. Last weapon merchandise, dirt cheap. They told Singh to handle them up. It is right now. We need to keep it that way. This is where the deal is.
What the hell is that?
Negative assets, you copy? Things got loose. And no one except the Columbia junkie has been inside the place ever since.
What's the plan, Director?
Singh being shot on the ground floor, inside the hotel's main room. He sent the gin crew to the penthouse level to secure a vantage point. I want the to take that position overlook the station and make the arrest. Jensen, you're going in solo from the roof.
My objective?
Keep the gin from joining the party. As far as you can tell, only one route connects the atrium to the penthouse level, a halfway decent elevator shaft. Here. I want you to block access to it.
Still be loose.
Do you plan on relying solely on your own for this one?
Yeah.
I'd recommend taking a little hardware, just to be sure.
Oh, the decision. The Rev way, lethal, or the Bond way. Decisions. Bond way.
Got a UC in there. Might be easier to maintain his cover if he's not the only one still breathing when this is done.
Smart thinking.
Yeah, but if anything does happen to him, you will be telling his wife after you get out of the hospital.
What about Redding? There's lots of white spaces and high ceilings in there, but a number of tight and constrained rooms too.
En route.
Stun gun or tranquilizer. Now, why can't I have both? I mean, if I was only able to hold a trank gun, I mean a stun gun, I can see why not being able to hold. It makes no sense, but.
Never was one to play the odds. Give me something I can use up close.
You got it. One last thing, Jensen. Singh said that Jin are using some sort of portable Wi-Fi device to boost communications. Got a better chance of maintaining cover if you disable.
Moving to revive. Keep an eye out. Now we on the clock here? You said there's a sandstorm moving in.
There is, and we got the intel on this mission at the very last minute. So we're
Everybody's
scrambling
holding assault rifles, and I'm going to be going into this mission with a freaking stun gun.
Eyes on negative asset.
You're up first, Jensen. Let's do this.
Eyes on negative asset.
Now, people may be wondering, why do I choose stun? Personally, if it's anything like the last game, I didn't like the stun. Not to mention that anybody you stun and take out, you can take their weapon anyway, so to me, it didn't make sense to pick something lethal, because I will be picking up plenty of lethal weapons along the way. These dudes must be like, wow, this idiot is jumping out of a plane with a taser. With a taser! Definitely the best augment in the game. Being able to fall from any damn height. Very useful. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Solid copy.
focus at the far end of the penthouses. And keep in mind, the direct route might not be the easiest one.
Rocks out with me. You know what I mean? Like I said, we can all agree to disagree. Like I said, on this channel here, just give you my opinion. And like I said, I'm very thankful to all you guys that rock out with me, and you know, who gave me a voice within this community. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm bigger or I'm better than anybody. I'm not one of those type of YouTubers. Some of these motherfuckers get on YouTube and think they're Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? I know without my viewers and my audience, I'm nothing. Not that I'm nothing, but for within this community, like I said, I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of that. You know what I mean? Like I am. You know what I mean? So I'm not one of the ones. If you invite me to a party, I won't. Like I'm not like that. You know what I mean? I really fuck with those that fuck with me. You know what I mean? That's regardless of your platform, and that doesn't matter. We all gamers. You know what I mean? I play in a game on everything. You know what I mean? But sometimes when things like it get kind of lost in translation, I guess. You know what I mean? People think or take me as me being the Xbox quote unquote fanboy, and I don't call Microsoft out for you shitting me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a consumer first. I tell you guys this shit all the time. You know what I mean? I game on everything. You know what I mean? I just prefer the Xbox. That's all. There's nothing wrong with having your preference. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it is what it is. Like I said, we're folding up now. Like I said, I'm about to start today's show. Shadow Man, your ass at. The little motherfucker, come when you call him too. Fucking street cat. But anyway, like I said in the day, it's been a wild 3-4 days. Whenever this PlayStation 4 got leaked, whether it was Saturday or was it Sunday, it's been a wild few days. You know what I mean? To give you a break, not even a breakdown, but something that I've been saying, and it dawned on me about 2 weeks ago. I said, going back to what I know right now, you know what I mean? Well, just going back and looking at E3, you see that Sony's, that last 15 minutes of the show, most likely they probably would have showed the quote unquote the PlayStation 4 Slim, which we see now, and probably the Neo with the last 15 minutes of the show, but they didn't do that. And Microsoft really caught them off guard, with announcing the Xbox One S. Not just it being an Xbox One S and it being a smaller, slicker console, the fact that Microsoft were adding the 4K features to the console. And which, and again, you know, even though you do have Nintendo, that's also in the gaming market, but Nintendo doesn't traditionally compete against Microsoft and Sony. And I wish that they would. It would make it a much more interesting console race. You know what I mean? The big three really competing, you know, and lobbying for all our dollars. So it was normally Microsoft versus Sony. So Microsoft came out, like I said, again, announced the Xbox One S. And like I said, unless you're new to my channel, you know, you don't know. Something that I've been saying on this channel, and you know, crapping them, they felt a certain type of way, Tim and all those guys, and they all feel the way I feel now, that Microsoft had to announce the Scorpio. Why? Because like I said in the day, I didn't think the Slim was going to do as well as it's doing now. Because like I said, as far as the 4K stream and then 4K, I mean, that to me, that was a no-brainer. But the fact that they gave us the option, or gave to upscale your games, you know what I mean, to 4K, you know what I mean, not native 4K, but you know, as far as the gaming, I didn't see that coming. So that's the reason why, again, I bought the Xbox One S. But like I said, here's the thing, like I said, so I was saying, you know, to those guys, or was very vocal, that a Slim really does nothing because you have your biggest competitor, which is Sony, who's going to be coming out with a more powerful Neo, you know what I mean? So they had to show the Scorpio. But me not even thinking about Microsoft again. Oh, I got the cat right here. Oh, you ran from me. Give me a little motherfucker. Say hi. I'm turning the camera on now. Being that, like I said, and again, when Microsoft announced the S, I think that more or less caught Sony off guard more than the Scorpio, because with Microsoft announcing the S and with the 4K features, they basically took, well, we see now what Sony's going to do with the PlayStation 4. Look at this little black motherfucker here, man. Little as hell, right? Call this little motherfucker Shadow Man. This little motherfucker head on. Like, he won't eat no fucking cat food. Like, I gotta force it down his mouth. Fuck my cat food now. Like, he would eat a fucking bagel with cream cheese there before he eats some fucking cat food. French fries, potato chips. I've never had a cat like this in my life, man. This little motherfucker, you know, besides he's black, my daughter love that little motherfucker to death, too. But that motherfucker won't eat no cat food. All right, we're back on. All right, back to what I was saying. That the Xbox One S caught Sony more off guard than the actual Xbox Scorpio, because again, Microsoft took whatever Sony was going to do, as far as the Neo, being slightly more powerful, but all the 4K features, and Microsoft gave this to that inside of the Xbox One S. Where here's Sony, which is Microsoft's biggest competitor, they don't have any of that shit in their PlayStation 4 Slim, in their introduction console. So here you have the Xbox One S for $300, and you're getting some 4K features. Where here's Sony, they had their introduction console with the PlayStation 4 Slim or whatever. Right now, the going around price for the PlayStation 4 is $350. I say probably they're going to give it a $50 price cut and knock it down to $300. But their $300 goddamn entry level console doesn't have any 4K features. So comparing the two, you know what I mean? The Xbox One has a much better value. S has a much better value. The streaming in 4K, if Netflix and stuff. On the Blacklist, watching that. I love that fucking show. That Stranger Days or whatever the fuck, the little girl got the powers. I love that show. But anyway, there's a lot of Sony.
About that this morning. I was like, I think he has a picture of that thing in a box. He needs to get up there and change it, and he did, because you don't want to take any fucking chances. Like, this is
that strike is not the ID content strike. That's the copyright strike.
That's you
can't do live streams and all that.
You can't do anything after you get that. It's a 6-month strike, and most likely after they officially announce it, they'll probably go and unstrike everybody. But still, like, this could really fuck with people. Sometimes people's livelihood. Like,
where's the Angry Joes and the Boogies complaining about it? No, not a peep.
Rand, like Macca, right? He does that for a living. He does YouTube for a living. Let's just say he fucking covered news too and was like just talking about it and had a picture up there and they fucking copyright strike.
People thought double action revolvers were a gimmick.
Yeah.
And they did the same with semi-automatic pistols, calling them needlessly complex and thinking of them as just a fad.
Whether or not
many countries did not think self-loading rifles were needed, and the old bolt guns were just fine. Hell, the nations of the West even thought the assault rifle concept was silly because who needs an intermediate cartridge when you already had rifles and subguns in the field?
A lot of people perceive
ingenuity isn't always mercurial. That is to say, you don't need to be confronted with a problem to evade one. A truly great example of this is the M16, a gun we tend to forget is a design from the 1950s. People relentlessly complained about its bizarre appearance at the time, its use of polymer aluminum, and really the most amazing thing about that gun is that we actually adopted it. Really, look at the rifles that came before it. The M14 looks like your grandpa's hunting rifle.
But the reason
and the difference in appearance between the M16 and it are colossal.
I had an argument the other day.
Hell, guns we needed to have out there. Guns like the M14.
They love and trust Sony in a way that they do not with Microsoft.
But for a smaller and more relatable example, I have a friend who engraves a lot of firearms with trust or corporate info for NFA registration.
Microsoft's been in court cases.
He said that 95% of the stuff he used to do would be ARs. All day long, a big stack of AR loaders would just stare at him.
As a corporation, and
until recently.
Going on for fucking years.
I was talking to him the other day, and he said, and this was hard to believe, that about 45% of what he's doing now are pistol caliber carbines like the Scorpion Evo or SIG MPX.
Like, Sony's doing this to
if sales were reflective of initial reactions, there wouldn't be as many out there. But both of these guns are flying off the shelves.
Sony. Like, I don't love
Honestly,
Microsoft.
that surprised me a lot too, as I thought the pistol caliber carbine market had a pretty narrow appeal.
At the end of the day is just the
So damn if I wasn't wrong on that one.
Have bash, as you guys well know.
Really, I have to catch myself. I will sometimes see
a lot. Yeah. Like, I don't agree with certain things. Like, if Microsoft raised the price of Xbox Live tomorrow to $70, you goddamn best, I'd be fucking first one out there being like, why? Why? Like, tell me the reason. Like, and that's the thing with this $10 raising the PSN. No reason given. And I understand inflation and all that shit, right? Like, I get that. But, like, there has to be $10 is a lot in a jump. Because Netflix, when they usually do their increases, only like a few dollars here and there.
Yeah.
But like, there's no reason for it. Are you increasing your server capacity? Are you doing something better? Are you planning on giving people better choices and the PlayStation Plus, or is this really just to get on par with Microsoft?
Not to mention that when Netflix or other places actually do that, they have a valid reason for raising it.
They put out a press release.
They put out a press release. Not only that, but Netflix has only raised it a few dollars, and they're fucking producing like AAA TV shows and shit.
Yeah, just go watch Stranger Things and then get back to me, because that's like one of the
So Sony's just like, listen, like, like how many like they got the 25 million. Who knows what the numbers? I'm just gonna say 20 million. I don't know what the number of PlayStation PSN users are. So an extra $20, assuming 100% of people keep with it, that's an extra $200 million a year in Sony's pocketbook. So they've obviously run the calculations, and they feel that they will make more money doing this than they would if they didn't, right? But that's the problem. Is like I will never you can't defend this in this way, and then even then go into copyright strikes. You can't defend that at all, right? But then you go back and look at Sony's history. Oh, they tried to trademark Let's Play 3 times, right?
Yep.
They tried to get that. What if they actually did get control of Let's Play?
Well,
How would that affect people?
Yeah, I mean, look,
See,
Sony. Look, if anybody wants to see what Sony is capable of, just look up some of their fucking history from before PlayStation or any of the other shit. Like, look at what they tried to do before to try to gain and corner markets to basically just increase their payouts and basically fuck over consumers. And there's a lot of fucking shit out there.
It's just look. And some people will call us the corporate slaves, which I always laugh at, right? Like, but I've read the NeoGAF thread. You should, if you want a funny fucking read the NeoGAF thread about this. I've never seen people come out to defend a corporation in my life. It's almost on the level of Apple fanboys, Mooch. Like
an apple a day.
The amount of like love and praise and defense. Like, oh, this just means Sony's gonna get more money. Yeah, it does, but what does that do for you? It does nothing. People are like, well, this just means in Sony's next financial report, they'll have more money for their profits. And it's like, dude, you have a serious problem in your life, bro. Like, if you honestly are happy about this because Sony's financial is going to be better, unless you literally own stock in Sony, it doesn't matter to you. If it only matters to you because, oh, you'll get one over those damn X-Bots on NeoGAF and on Twitter. Like, you need to fucking go and look yourself in the mirror and be like, I need to reevaluate my life because something has gone wrong somewhere if that actually brings you joy and happiness. And as you say, I have a lot to say on this topic. I have been a lot to say on the PlayStation 4 Slim stuff, too.
Yeah.
Like, it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that people would blindly defend a corporation that cares nothing about them. Like, yes, like, we are friends with people within Microsoft, we know there are people within Microsoft who are our friends.
Yeah.
But I can separate that from the corporation and the division. Like, I know Microsoft is in it for one thing only. They want the fucking money in my pocketbook. They want Craft's money, they want Mooch's money, they want She-Wolf's money, they want GKB's money, and I'm fine with that.
They get all the monies.
Right, just give me a good product, and I will hand over my money to you.
That's called capitalism.
Exactly.
Hey, look, I've been handing money over to Microsoft since before the Xbox days.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, when we have an issue, they do try to address it. They do actually listen to what we are complaining about and what we don't agree with to begin with. So even though we are paying, it's not like they're not friends, they're not family, they're a business. And of course, their first idea is, of course, to get their product out and to sell it, just like what everybody's been saying. But at the same time, they still listen. They don't have to. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand. They don't have to do this. They can just be like, no, it's either you keep buying it or you don't. It's not really going to affect them in any way because out there, somebody will still pay for it.
And you can tell because Phil and Mike, they're very proactive on Twitter. They're very out. Who's out there for Sony? Like, I feel like we're getting back to the point where Sony's arrogant again, where they feel like they can do no wrong. And Andrew House... And
hey, how about that orchestra?
Right, like
hey, shout out Rory Ward. He's watching.
Yeah, like he's up in their tower, and they're just like, like these come on, remember Sony in the PS2 days were like, people in the PS3 will literally buy a PS3 if it was just a brick, and they'll pay $1,000 because they literally thought nothing of their consumers. Now. Right. They had to go through the PS3, which lost them all their profits to regain that thing. But now this is what happens when fucking somebody gets way too much power in an industry. Like, yes, Sony has the lead on Microsoft, so Sony thinks it can do these type of things. But that's what we get competition because we've gotten a better Microsoft out of this whole ordeal. Like, yes, sometimes you have to fucking fail to succeed in life, and Microsoft failed. And in doing so, I think succeeding because we got fucking crooked ass Don Matrick out of there, and we got fucking cool ass Phil Spencer in there with his
Southbound's good buddy Don Matrick.
Southbound ready to shoe shine that shit. But I don't think. But Sony's so like they're just dominant right now that like
that's how Sony gets. They get like that. They start getting a dominant in the market, and they think that they can't fucking lose.
Yeah, they go on Twitter and they see people defending
it
a $10 increase. They go and they read all this stuff. People defending YouTube strikes, which okay, if you're not a YouTuber, maybe that doesn't affect you. Like whatever. Either way, it's
I've been
mind-boggling.
dealing with the Sony thing for a long time because I've never been a fan of any of Sony's products like ever really. And like going back to PlayStation, like PlayStation 2, I had original Xbox, I had a GameCube, and the whole time all it was Sony people defending Sony. The same thing as it is now, just less less vocal because it wasn't the internet wasn't.
And you know what
big.
Sony's really missing? And honestly, like I kind of like didn't like him because he was like the Sony guy, but I would love to see him come to Microsoft. Jack Tretton, dude, he had charisma, he had stage presence that like. That Sony's missing. He could sell a product, but like I don't like people like blindly defend corporations. Like I know Mooch loves Apple, I know Worrywart loves Apple, but there are people like like they've removed the what the headset in the new iPhone or whatever, like the jack, right? That isn't there in the new iPhone 7 or something? Isn't that the rumors?
That's the rumor.
Like and like the Apple fanboys would be like, we didn't need the jack anyways, motherfucker. Who gives a shit about that jack?
We get higher quality audio out of the fucking lightning port.
Sony's, but I wonder if Sony, like, what was the price that Sony would have to raise PSN to actually get a legitimate backlash? Is it $100 a year? Is it $200? Like,
they
what
went
is the
from
price?
They went from free to 50. They went from free to 50, and now they went from 50 to 60, and you're getting less as a consumer. So,
maybe they should get Steve Ballmer out there to do the commercial, like those old Windows commercials. How high does PSN have to go? 100? 200?
Yeah, here's the difference. Here's the difference between, and I'm only speaking tongues here because we have to wait till the reveal. But the difference between Apple and what you're using Apple in sentences that really you shouldn't be, is when Apple does something like that, it really shouldn't. When Apple does a change, they also have their entire ecosystem work and facilitate around that change. Sony makes a change and they're like, go fuck yourself. It's like Sony does the change and then you're on your own. You got to figure out what you got to, like those people who are using the optical out sound for their sound bar, did Sony say, hey, but we have a something for you? No, they're just like, no, we just saw you didn't need it. Peace.
Yeah, they couldn't have fucking been like, here's a fucking optical out adapter.
Right. Well, I mean, look at Microsoft decided to take Connect port out, that huge connector out to make it smaller. Also, the internal power supply couldn't run off of that. So they had to do their external thing. What does Microsoft do? We have a solution for you, and not only that, we also have it as a free solution for you. I got my Xbox One S. I already got my Kinect hooked up. It was literally this is for Ryan McCaffrey, who apparently 2 plugs are confusing to him. I plugged it. You plug in the back of it into a power. There's like a power supply midway that goes from the back of the USB into this power supply, and then it goes into another unit, and then it gets plugged into the wall. It's really not that big of a deal. It took 2 or 3 seconds to hook up, and Microsoft gave that to us for free.
Wait, so does that adapter, just a quick question, that plugs into a USB port then on the Xbox?
Yes, and it's actually a specific USB port. You can't just, there's 3 USB ports, and it's the one, if you're looking at the back of the console, if you spin it around, it's the far left USB that you have to plug it into.
Yeah, I was actually wondering that, because I'm probably going to pick up a Slim fairly soon.
Let me tell you something about this. Let's stop talking about Sony.
Let me tell you something.
This Xbox S is fucking beautiful.
Because you picked one up, right, Mooch?
I did. I got it yesterday. I got the 1 terabyte one. Listen, I got news for you. This thing, and I'll be honest with you. Yes, I'm very excited for my Gears one that's coming, but I gotta say, the white one is fucking elegant. It is elegant to the nines. Like, all I can say is, if you're on the fence and you're like, I don't know. And my friend at work came over to me and he says to me, hey, so I saw what you tweeted out. He's like, you got the S? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh. He's like, what do you think? And I explained to him the same thing I've been saying on the show. And I told him, I said, do you have $150 you're willing to part with? He goes, yeah. I go, you already told me you're getting Scorpio, right? He goes, yes, I'm getting Scorpio day 1. I'm like, go get this one. Enjoy the benefits of it. You have a 4K TV. go home, enjoy everything with it with your family, and you're gonna get your $150 back next year. He's like, you basically just sold me. And like, he's going to get his. He's going to get the Madden one. Like, my point being is that if you have the 150 to burn, this thing, and there's something about the new controller. It doesn't have the matte finish that the Elite controller has. It's not quite that grip, but there are some sort of beaded back that's not annoying. It doesn't aggravate your hands. It feels great. It really does. I like also, for some reason, the analog sticks feel a little bit more responsive. Just the whole
Here's the
thing
question I want to go back to you, Mooch, because you asked me this question when I got the Slim. Is how did the controller feel like construction-wise? Because I tried to twist it and all that kind of stuff, and I couldn't do anything to it.
No, there's no creaks, there's no cranks, there's no this, it really is firm. And I got to tell you something. For the first time, of course, the Elite controller, I had the same feeling, but this is the first controller that came out of a console box that I would say feels molded to an adult hand. You know what I mean? Like, I still, every once in a while, go downstairs, we'll watch a Blu-ray on a PS4, because I figure if I'm going to beat up a machine, I'm going to beat that one up for movies. So I put the PS4 on.
Out the Blu-ray on that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but when I hold that PS4 controller, it creaks, it cranks, it's got all these weird, and it's so small.
And then your battery's dead every 2 seconds.
Oh, it's just an awful, like,
that was what really turned me off of the PS4. If I'm gonna be fucking totally honest, was that controller.
The controller really, and that's and I did ask GKB that, and I think GKB, you nailed it when you said that to me. I feel the same exact way. Actually, last night I was just navigating, like I said, you guys know I'm a little under the weather, so like I was just catching up on some Z's. But like literally, I was navigating and going through everything and setting up, bringing all my games back over onto the internal, and like just the response and the feel. I got news for you. Short of course, first-person shooters, I'm definitely gonna revert back to my Elite. But except for that, anything else, if I'm playing like, Hyper Light Drifter or anything like, I'm definitely going to use that white controller. It is amazing. I recommend it, man. It's great.
I'm actually glad to hear that, because I actually was thinking about picking up one of the new remodeled ones. Actually, as I wasn't relevant to most people, but as a PC controller, because it's Bluetooth compatible.
Yeah. Well, like, when they were making the controllers, like, I thought the last standard controller, I thought that was a really great controller. I was like, how can they even improve it any much more? And then, Microsoft does it again with this new white one, man.
They did it.
Phenomenal.
They did it. I don't know either. I even said that. That's what I said in my tweet when I sent the picture out. I said, I don't know how Microsoft did it. I don't even have an explanation, but it actually feels better. It is getting better. That's the other thing. Everything from the UI to the look of the system to the game performance to the controllers to the Microsoft help, whether you want to talk to them, Xbox support, everything in this generation has gone in an upward linear scale.
Well,
everything from Sony since the minute you took it out the box in November 2013 has gone down. The games suck. The controller sucks.
And that's a good testament to Microsoft too, because they've been. And here's the thing too: is Microsoft's been around the software and hardware industry literally forever. I mean, they basically helped invent it. And so they know, when to make a change, when not to make a change. They know how people, respond to changes. I mean, they've been doing it with Windows, and prior to Microsoft Windows, and they had their games division. They had the Age of Empires, which I believe Phil Spencer was a big part of. They had the flight simulator and that kind of stuff, and they listened to feedback on all that stuff back then. And they've been doing this stuff for years, so they know how to respond to their customers.
Yeah, they do a good job, and I think that's the main difference. Like Sony, they come out with a slogan for the players. Microsoft actually does that. I get that feeling. Like when my Xbox was fucked up, Phil Spencer talked to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure everybody would do that, but you can't even get Sony to acknowledge you. Hell, even Sony fans, like, look what Zaire, he messaged very respectfully Colin Moriarty, right, on Twitter. He just goes, hey, how do you feel about Sony doing a Slim without any 4K stuff, And Colin Moriarty blocked him and blocked Mooch and he blocked everybody.
It's funny, and I mean, you guys know Jay Hooft was JKB. He just tweeted everybody out. All he did in that chain, it wasn't Zaire's chain, but it was in another one. He just said, "Who is this guy?" Meaning, like, who's Colin Moriarty? And Colin Moriarty blocked JKB. JKB goes, "What the hell did I?" He's like, "This guy's crazy." You know, I mean, like, this is the point. And Zaire did a show, which I listened to a chunk of it today. My point is this. These guys, their backs, the Sony fanboys and the Sony media are against the wall now. Now when you ask them a question, they can't. When that girl, Andrea, said that to him today on that show, or the other day, excuse me, because it's pre-recorded. His back was against the wall. He didn't have an answer. These guys don't have an answer because now they're being called out because Sony is doing what Rand just said. They're cocky again. Why would you have this like very incremental, very, very small lead in the United States, Sony? Don't be just because you're doing well in Guam and other third world countries. Nobody cares, okay? And all that people care about, and don't tell me, and they go, no, Mooch, everything counts. No, it doesn't, because publicity, commercials, advertising. Why did Sony ignore their own motherland and launch in February of 2013 there, but they, excuse me, 2014, but they launched here first? Because USA and UK count, Canada, Mexico, and even probably parts of Brazil. That's a huge gaming. They know where their hotspots are, and those are the hotspots.
And look, and Sony especially would never, if they didn't think that would have been a big difference, they would have never released a console in outside of Japan before Japan.
Exactly.
Hey, well, let me ask you guys this, all right? Like, you're coming out with a revision for your console, right? Microsoft is like, okay, people are starting to get into 4K more. I look at the S as almost a 4K starter kit, because you're going to be able to do your 4K streaming media, your 4K movies, your Blu-ray player. It's going to upscale, and apparently the upscale looks pretty good. It's a more powerful system, despite what Microsoft tried to downplay. Obviously, people are saying that things run much faster and better on the game. Then Sony goes the opposite route, and they like pull features out and don't add anything new.
Well, look, I mean, look, that's just the thing, right? Like, Sony is going the opposite way. They're going the old route of how slims were, console slims were, which makes no sense at this point because they're only a few years in, and usually when a slim comes out and they do it, to save money, it's after everybody's already fucking done with that system.
Okay. Well, it's not just enough like. In technology these days, I said this on the console corner too, because this question came up. It's not enough anymore just to be smaller. Everything is small now. That's just status quo at this point. Like, everybody's more connected. We do more things. We want to hang out with our friends across the seas, whatever. We need more features in these things, and they didn't do that. They didn't deliver. So I'm sorry, but Xbox One S is the better choice in my opinion.
It's the better choice because they're going to play the same multiplats. The multiplats aren't going to be as bad as, well, I never thought they were bad anyway, but also if a lot of people are starting to get into the 4K TV space now. And so and HDR is actually a thing. Like, a lot of people are really the buzzword.
Crap, let me ask you this: like, Sony has like Blu-ray and all that, and pretty much has the marketing like HD like content out there. Why the hell do they not have a 4K player in the Slim?
They were taken by surprise, in my opinion, and that's why they've been so quiet. And I've been saying this for a while now. Sony has been the most quiet I've heard them ever be since E3, right? Like, Microsoft come out and go, okay, well, here's our Slim. We got HDR. We're upscaling games to 4K.
Let's just throw this out here too, right? Not only disregard the Slim, but what we've read so far in those documents for the Neo, that doesn't even have a 4K player.
Yeah, this is true. There was nothing in there, which I would almost 100% assure that they would go back and revise. If they were going to be able to do any revision, it would be to put a 4K fucking Blu-ray player in there.
So you have all this fucking power, and now, in order to put if they're going to try to do any kind of 4K games.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it need a 4K Blu-ray player to do 4K gaming at some point?
Well, no,
but you're using more space for the textures.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying, like,
what their workaround was, Rand, in there. They're like, we're going to support dual disc now. So 2 discs, 2 regular Blu-ray discs. One of them can be a 50 gig data disc that installs, and then the other would be a 50 gig game disc.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, so they were like, we'll be able to do up to 100 gigs of data, but it would maybe take 2 discs. You need an install disc and then another disc. Like the documents, that's what they said.
Yeah, like the old school shit, and it takes it takes a lot of fucking space for 4K textures.
Yeah. So that was surprising.
I have a take on this. Like, this, so this is entirely assuming that the Neo has a 4K Blu-ray player, okay?
Yeah.
And HDR and stuff.
Okay.
So I was thinking the same thing as you guys, right? Like, Microsoft does a Slim, but they kind of buck the trend of, like, taking parts out, like they usually do to get the cost down and stuff like that. I'm sure some of the parts in the Xbox One reduced in price over the course of time, so they have that. So they include HDR, they include a 4K Blu-ray player, yada yada yada. Right now, when we had Aaron Greenberg on TXR and even Albert Pinello on Tick Podcast, and it's common knowledge, but like consoles take a long time to manufacture, design, put together and stuff. Like they're years in production, right? So at some time after both the PS4 and the Xbox One originally launched, both Sony and Microsoft went to the drawing board, started planning the Slims, Sony started planning their Slim, then started planning their Neo. Microsoft started planning their Slim and their Scorpio, obviously. Now we got both Slims coming out this year, but Sony also has the Neo coming out this year. My whole point is this: the Neo is coming out this year. This is my theory. This is why I'm going to say it. Neo's coming out this year. It has a 4K Blu-ray player. It has HDR. Now, Microsoft is taking a different approach. Their Slim's coming out this year, but yet there's a year lead time between their Slim and the Scorpio, right? So when companies are planning for their future product, they also have to predict what could be like big in a few years. And 4K gaming was it. So Microsoft had to put a 4K Blu-ray player in there just on the assumption that Sony would do the same, because you have the Slim in 2016 and the Scorpio in 2017. That's a long year to wait. So they needed to put the 4K Blu-ray player in the Slim. Now, if you go on Sony's side, Sony is going to do what they always do. They take parts out of the Slim, but they don't necessarily need to include a 4K Blu-ray player, because they're also launching a new premium system a month later that is going to have a 4K Blu-ray system. So to Sony's perspective, there's no reason to put that 4K Blu-ray system in.
They've got a console for you if you want 4K.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what I think Sony's doing is, I think there's going to be a 500 gig model and there's going to be a 1 terabyte model for the Slim. That 500 gig model is going to be $250. That 1 terabyte model is going to be $300. And the Neo's going to have the 4K, the Neo's going to have the HDR, the Neo's going to have the optical, all the stuff that Sony does, and that's going to be $400. So
I think that's actually a very good point. Actually, I think Rand hits that fairly square on, because you look at Sony's past, responses to PS3, which I believe basically just kind of slims, of course, for both 360 and PS3, were basically just hardware revisions to stop all the failure rates. And then you had the super slim PS3, where they stripped everything out, and then basically it was like, if you want all this other stuff, buy a PS4.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna try, because let's be honest, the Xbox One S offers more than the PS4 Slim, as what we currently know is in it. But they're gonna try to undercut Microsoft, and they're offering two models. One of them is gonna be $250, in my opinion. And this only goes with, like I said, this theory is that the Neo comes out this year and it has a 4K Blu-ray player, because Sony doesn't necessarily need to have two models with, because they essentially will be telling consumers, like, look, if you just want a gaming system as a PS4 and you just want to play everything that comes out, get a Slim. It doesn't have 4K, whatever. But like, if you're that consumer that wants all the new toys, like Microsoft just did with the Xbox One S, like, okay, we have that system for you. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, and that's why I think Microsoft included the Slim, because they knew there was going to be that 1 year gap, and they didn't want the scenario where Sony has it and they don't. So they took the risk of including a 4K Blu-ray player, which isn't cheap, to a regular Blu-ray player, and put it in the Slim. I guess what my point is, if the Scorpio was coming out this year, there would be no 4K player in the Slim.
Right,
gap.
I think we're also looking at. I think the Xbox Slim was a little bit different than just this is the Slim version of the console with a few extra features or whatever the case may be. I kind of see the Slim more as a rebranding for Microsoft more than anything.
It's a little bit of everything you guys are saying. It's definitely a rebranding, because this is Phil's entrance into the world. This is his stamp. His organic footprint starts with the Xbox One S. So I mean, that's what's coming down. Yes, I do agree with what you're saying, but the problem is that.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. The thing is that Sony looks really bad, because Sony went with a traditional slim factor, right? That's what they usually do. They just make the die smaller, yet things get cheaper, blah, 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 all the stuff we're accustomed to. But this is a huge faux pas. stop, because the thing is this. It's like I said many weeks ago, the Neo is lost in translation. You've got an Xbox One S that you want to call a stopgate, that's fine. But it really is it's almost like this, like, one incremental step up, which was enough. It's enough for people who are going out and getting 4K TVs between now and Christmas, and then people know that Scorpio's coming out next year, and it doesn't matter if Scorpio's $600. It doesn't matter, because it's twice, it's 25 to 50% stronger than the Neo.
And
so why do
not
people
only that,
invest
people
in
will be
Neo?
are not only that, I think it's smart on Microsoft's move too, because now they know that everybody will already be fucking ready to play 4K.
Yeah.
Microsoft is ready to brawl again, okay? Like, we got Magic out there, we got the people who ruined the Xbox One originally. They brought in people to focus test it, and they say, hey, no, gamers don't want a game. They want to watch TV and sports on their fucking system. We got that crew out of there. And while, yes, Phil was on, at the decisions, and he's been asked this, and he won't deny, he's not going to be like, no, I had no culpability in it. Like, he was in those meetings. Yeah. But, like, they're getting back to what matters about gaming. It's the games, right? Games come first. If you want to do all the other nonsense later, like TV and all that shit, fine. But like, what comes first is gaming, and I think Microsoft's finally back on that. And I honestly think they caught Sony unawares, because like in business you have to keep an eye on your competitor, what they're doing. You don't want to get one up. Microsoft, I thought I tried when Sony agreed with the PS4. I mean, there's been stories about it all over. I mean, I talked to people at Microsoft. They were convinced. Publishers were convinced Microsoft was going to dominate Sony this gen. Things changed. They got caught, using the DDR3, and Sony did the 5 with the 8. So they got screwed there. Now it's like, okay, now Sony went for, it's like, we want to do Neo, but we don't want to go blah blah blah. Microsoft's like, no bitches. Fuck you. Wait till prices go down in 2017. We're going fucking 6.7 terabytes.
That was
all this shit.
Alan Moriarty said that the Scorpio ran. He said the Scorpio, in his opinion, will be. This is how much these guys work in the world of video games. We do not. And this is what he said. He said that the Scorpio, in his opinion, will be delayed to 2018 for component prices to drop. No, it won't happen.
Scorpio is coming out in 2017.
Yeah, and that makes no fucking sense, because Microsoft could probably get away with releasing the Scorpio at a decent price this fucking year if they wanted to. With the way component prices are.
They already said that the reason why they're waiting is so that they can do at a cheaper price next year. But again, I've heard multiple times that they've already, they're going to come out and lay their hand on the table at E3 like that. I think there's a little bit more that meets the eye, and I tend to believe that a little bit, that they have a little bit of wiggle room in between the 6 T-flops and whatever.
So I mean, look, here's the thing. I honestly think, and I think 6 is kind of undercutting now with what they said, because looking at the way component prices and that sort of thing are moving, I think Microsoft might be able to pull off an easy 8.5.
I heard that it's it's closer to 7 than it is to 6.
Yeah, see, I mean, look, and that's, this is a closed box, folks. So people that assume that, and I think we've lost She-Wolf. She's in a coma somewhere. But hey, She-Wolf, you there?
What? Kind of
But yeah, so I think that Microsoft, a lot of people are like, well, Sony can just come back and do this, and I'm like, well, listen, Microsoft doesn't have their stuff in production. We know that developers have Neo stuff in production, and they've been making Neo versions of games for a while now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you also know, like, you did a video like, why is Sony so quiet, right? And I always said, like, Scorpio's better, right? And Sony wasn't going to get up on stage at E3 and announce Neo because Microsoft was going to announce Scorpio, because even if they say Neo's like, oh, Neo's got this, and this, Microsoft in the morning would already announce, hey, this is a Scorpio, this is what it has. And the Neo's worse. So because you remember the Xbox One reveal where like, we got 3 billion transistors.
Yeah.
It's because they lost on the spec war, so they can't fucking say anything, right? And the Slim, right? Yeah, the Slim's coming out in September, but I think they kind of wanted this another thing they did announce the Slim, not necessarily because it was coming out so late, because obviously that's clearly in warehouses because people fucking have them already, right? But because their version of the Slim was the traditional model of a Slim. You rip pieces out, you get costs way down. Microsoft did a different version of a Slim. They redesigned it. They actually included things that would increase the price. So Microsoft announcing the Slim, saying this thing's got a 4K Blu-ray player, this thing does HDR gaming. Look how beautiful this looks. And imagine if then Sony was like, oh, by the way, here's a Slim. It looks like a fucking burnt piece of toast that fucking Adam Boyce sat on.
So what you're saying is
shit.
It's not even just that. You know, when it comes to the Slim, my biggest issue with the PlayStation Slim is the vents were already bad enough on the first PlayStation 4 because we did have one. Like, well, actually, we had 2 of them, and they did overheat quite easily. And now you took, like, what, quarter of the size? Because they really didn't make it much smaller than the PlayStation 4, but you know, they brought it a little bit smaller. But now they put the vents under a lip, and it's like, okay, so you added what? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, the design of the PlayStation
the
Slim,
design is just awful.
It is, because there's like, okay, you got vents all on the side. Okay, yeah, that kind of looks cool. But now you have these lips that hang over it that are like, okay, well, that's going to stop the airflow right there. So now, how much is this thing going to overheat?
Oh, but I think what Rand was getting into, though, is that it's sort of like that, like No Man's Sky, you know? They show one thing, and then now all of a sudden you got the fucking retarded-looking T-Rex.
Well, it's because Microsoft caught them, like, unawares, just like Sony. Like, they literally have a Slim that does way more stuff than their Slim, and they have a Scorpio that does way more stuff than their Neo. So they couldn't do a press conference after Microsoft announced those 2 things because those things are already obsolete.